Brothers and sisters, my goodness, what a hype. What a hype. We got a new form of the WWE coming out to Netflix now, and the biggest perpetrator of this new movement of entertainment is Jake Paul. So we need to have a fireside chat. We need to talk about this because there were those that bought into it. And as you can see, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, friends, because you should know, and I know you do, that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson have been friends since Jake Paul was young. Mike Tyson knows his parents. So this was a hype. This was a hype. And the new WWE, same way that Vince McMahon and all of these guys built it up, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson has an ever-running deal. This is what's going on. And this thing was set up. So you have to know a setup when you see it. And this thing was set up, and brothers and sisters, there was so much money made. There was money made. This was about money on this fight, that there was so much money made. And if you could see it, if you could see the hype, you understand exactly what I'm saying. But you have to study it with sensitive eyes to see that it was a hype. You got to study it with sensitive eyes so you can know what's going on, right? So you can call it what it is. It's a hype. And they had everybody riled up. Everybody was riled up, right? I had to pay close attention because it even almost got me. I had to pay close attention. Do you remember when Mike Tyson was on? He was on WWE, and he was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And what's the other guy's name? You got two of them actually. Two wrestlers. One is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and the other one is Goldberg, right? And Mike Tyson, when he was in boxing, at that time he was suspended from boxing, but he went in on this act, and Vince McMahon brought him on, right? It was good for viewing, and he brought him on. The same thing with Donald Trump, right? These guys are exhibitionists. Jake Paul is a great promoter. Mike Tyson has known this boy since he was a child. He knows his parents. He knows the parents. So from all of it, it was a distraction. And so from all the hype, you can see it. From all the hype. There are people, I respect the fact that Mike Tyson can still turn a dollar at his age. And if you look, Tyson was not fighting this boy. It was obvious that Tyson could have took him. He could have hurt him. This is obvious. But the whole point of the matter was money and an exhibition. And this promotion that they're doing. So Jake Paul is going to be this great promoter. And they used this fight. And I want you to know when it was set. Because the nation is at a climate of racism, high tension, very high tension. Some of the highest tension we've seen in a long time in this nation. And they used the momentum of the nation because they knew that people wanted to see something. Don't let these white folks fool you. You got some racists out there that were counting on this fight. And these two young men, I respect the fact. I respect the fact of their mind, their youthful mind, Mike Tyson's and this Jake Paul's useful mind, because they used the climate, right? But they weren't guided by the climate. They used the climate to make money. The climate was used to make money. But everybody, you have to look at the chemistry behind it all, because who's president? What is the momentum of the climate and the atmosphere? Right? Didn't Donald Trump use the same climate and atmosphere for his campaign? And there are people that are really involved in the system of supremacy and hate. So they want to see something between black folks and white folks. Wake up, brothers and sisters. You better wake up. You better wake up. And see, you have to understand what's going on. The psychology and physiology behind such an act and what it really says. What it really says. And never did the climate of boxing get that kind of attention, where people were talking out of both sides of their mouth. Right? But it so happened the whole thing was an exhibition. Nothing but an exhibition. Now, what I want to say is that it made some good money. And what I want to also say is that Tyson could have took him if he wanted to fight him. He didn't want to fight. But he understood there was money in the hyping of it. Because you see that first round when Tyson hit Jake Paul, have you seen that fight? If you haven't seen it, go back on YouTube and review it. You see the first fight, or rather the first round, where Mike Tyson hit Jake Paul. I'm talking, he hit him and shook him. Then after that, he said, wait a minute, I'm going too strong. I got to pull back. I got to pull back. So it was the hype behind it and connected with the racial climate that sold it. And they said, man, if we do this, and just think about when the fight was set. They had to reset the fight right after the presidential campaign. I want you to think about that. You got to use your mind. You gotta see things with your mind eye. You got to see things with your mind's eye. Tyson drew back, right? Let Jake Paul take a few shots, right? When you look at him in training, and I know he was 58. You don't have to tell me that, but Mike Tyson's 58 is not a normal run-of-the-mill 58 of somebody who, you understand what I'm saying, who hasn't been in training or physical condition, right? And you talking about a black 58. You talking about a black 58. Reparations for repatriation. Hey, brother, good to see you. Good to see you. You said the fight was hard to watch. Not really. Not really. I don't think that Mike Tyson had any fear of Paul knocking him out, because I knew Paul was given all that he could give, and he knew he couldn't do it. I think, now I'll tell you this, just in the interest of white folks and how they are. Peace, LD. Peace. Peace, reparations for repatriation. I don't think that he was in fear of Paul knocking him out, because Jake Paul was given all he could give it. He was given all that he could give. He was given everything that he could give. And that wasn't enough for Mike Tyson. You got to understand, Mike Tyson stood under the best. And the boxer never lose their punch. Now, I think Jake Paul, once he got in there, he flipped the script. But all of it was hype. If you remember one of the press conference that they had, where Jake Paul brought this pigeon, right? Remember, he brought the pigeon to give it to Mike, and Mike didn't receive it. Mike didn't receive the pigeon because that Mike was getting into the old Mike, right? And he said, I'll take that pigeon and feed him to my hawk, right? So he said, you really gonna feed him to your hawk? And he saw how he was scaring Jake Paul, and he sort of dialed it back. Because this is a different Mike Tyson that everybody loves, and he couldn't go back to wake the beast. The beast is always awake in him. But this wasn't an occasion to show it. Right? Because he's trying to sell a different image and a different brand. But you have to look at the climate. You have to look at the climate. We've got to be wise to look at the climate of what's going on. When the fight was set after the presidential campaign, what's in the climate and the atmosphere now? They're talking about Project 2025. How does that tie in? We're going to talk about that at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. tonight. So I hope that you're with us. I pray and hope that you're with us. These things have to be explained. And I'm going to be on the horn even more so now. I had taken a slight break to do some songs, right? Jazz songs and whatnot that I put out on the web just to give the people a break and to do some work in the studio. Many of those things will be coming out near you. The Black Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., reincarnated. But for the sake of what's happening in Project 2025, I've got to concentrate and redirect our people back to what's going on because there's several things happening. We don't hear much from Silas Muhammad. We know that they have a tragedy in Texas. And we know that the brothers that have been leading the Muslim movement for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad now, many of them are old. And even those that have been pretending to do the movement of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad are gone. I think Farrakhan is 92. And he was born May the 11th. So he's about 92 years old. And you don't hear much now in Minister Ismail is no Farrakhan. So can't really seduce the people like that. So you see a great drop in the Muslim movement and the climate. So those of us that are younger have to push out and push the Muslim movement and the climate and the actual teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. None of that L. Ron Hubbard stuff or anything like that, but to jump back into the sphere of teaching and acknowledgement of the true purpose of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we have to explain everything in this day, and notwithstanding, even though we know it was a hype, we have to explain the fight, right? The fix on Netflix, Tyson versus Paul, this was a fix. And to get you in a mindset to deviate you mentally for what is actually going on. They rode the wave of the climate of racism to make millions of dollars on Netflix because they wanted to see, and Mike Tyson knows it, and Jake Paul knows it. They wanted to see a white boy beat a legend. And the white boy tried to flip the script once he got in there, but he didn't have enough. And you saw him bow at the end because Mike was putting it on him, and Mike Tyson was only punching about 70%. He was only punching about 70%. And you have to acknowledge and pay attention to that. Because if you don't dissect and understand everything that's really going on, then you won't be in touch. And one thing we have to do now, we have to examine everything that's happening so we can be in touch. We've got to be in touch with what's going on in the atmosphere. Not only that atmosphere, but this atmosphere. Because you've got a lot of black people that think everything's all right. They've got a lot of white friends, and they think that everything's all right, but it isn't. This is one of the worst climates of hate and debauchery that we'll ever see in history. Now, I said that to say this, that black people, we don't have to be bogged down by this, because with the advent of internet, with the advent of this new move of technology, and along with industrialism, then you'll see that our freedom is in our hands, our feet. Our freedom is in our mind, right? And with unity, nothing is impossible. And even in the light of unity, we have to think differently now, because virtuosity would matter also in this scope of what I'm saying. But the fight was a distraction, but you must see what was going on behind the scene. If you look at WWE, what makes it so popular is that you've got a lot of white people that come, poor white trash, come from trashy families, horrible backgrounds. They present the worst of the worst background as fighters, because this is the money. So they could see all the poor white people can see somebody else that's poor. Look at the name, Junkyard Dog, Triple H. You gotta look at it. You gotta look at it. Look at these terms, Triple X, right? Rowdy Ron Piper. You got to see it, and not only locally and nationally, but globally. They make a presentation because globally, the spirit of oppression is highly active, globally active, right? Right? Just like in the Roman Colosseum, when they would put on these shows, the gladiators would fight. The whole idea behind it was to overtake the ruling regime, right? If the gladiators fight, they could fight enough where they could take over the ruling regime. That was the thought behind the gladiators, thought behind the competition of athletes. It's the same thing with countries, same thing with races of people. And we're not getting off the script. We're not getting off the script, but this was a reality show. This is a reality show. When you look at, and I want to show you something. We're gonna dive into understanding perspective and script. We want to dive into that. Now, if you look at Rocky Balboa, another brother talk about Sylvester Stallone down there, brother LD, and that is a very, very, very good example. When you look at Rocky, the whole idea behind Rocky actually came from the fight between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, because Joe Frazier was a strong underdog. Now Sylvester Stallone, in the light of plagiarism, would have you to believe that it was another fighter. I'm trying to think of the fighter's name. He had never been knocked out. He was a white guy, had never been knocked out. He wasn't a good boxer or anything like that. His only claim to fame is that he couldn't be knocked out. His only claim to fame. Now, but the idea of Rocky, right, as an Avenger, the idea of Rocky, the persona came from Joe Frazier. That's right, brother. That's right. Joe Warner. That's right. And this guy had never been knocked out, but he had the heart of a lion. He had the gift of a lamb, but he had the heart of a lion. And he hit Ali. Ali didn't take him very seriously. When you look at the fight in Sylvester Stallone and Carl Weathers, who plays Apollo. Apollo's character, who was the mimic of Muhammad Ali, didn't really take the Rocky Balboa, the character that Sylvester Stallone was playing. He didn't really take him seriously in the boxing ring, right? So as a result, when he fought him, he was in for a major fight. Now, of course, in the actual fight, right, of what Sylvester was trying to implicate in Joe Warner, Warner couldn't hurt Ali. He wasn't fast enough. He wasn't gifted. And eventually Ali beats him down and literally knocks him out. He knocks him out. Nobody had ever done it before. But the chemistry of the fight was actually built from the Ali Frazier fight, because that is hype. See, and the point I'm trying to make is this, is that Hollywood promotes hype from the climate of what people would like and what's going on, right? He couldn't find anybody to really do that to Ali when he was living, right? So they made a movie about a guy named Apollo that was like Ali, very gifted. that gets beat by this Russian guy. See the hype. It's always a hype between black and white. I'm just trying to show you so you won't be fooled, so you won't be tricked. Because a lot of people are. Now, you look at the Kamala Harris, or whatever you want to call her. I'm going to say Kamala. I have my own reason for saying that. When you look at her and you look at Donald Trump, there are enough black women. There's two things going on. She's a black woman. Excuse me, she's black and she's a woman. Even with everything that would contribute to a campaign, the main thing that sold the attention of that campaign, that kept black women up at night to support a black woman that has put over 3,000 black men, innocent black men that she knew, in jail. The only other thing that kept them up besides feminism was racism. And these black women and some ignorant black men really believe that a black woman would get in office over a racist white man in a racist white country ruled by racist white men. The biggest hype that has ever touched the planet. Huge hype. I know there are those that are saying, well, Donald Trump's racist. Donald Trump hadn't stopped being racist. He's been racist. He's no hypocrite. He at least is not pretending to like us. Huh? Yeah, I'll deal with any racist. I'll work beside a Klansman. As long as I know he's a Klansman and he knows I'm a black nationalist. And as long as he knows that my life is on the line and he knows that his own life is on the line, because I'm going to defend my life. But I can work with him because he's no hypocrite. See? He's no hypocrite. And this is what we have to understand. The ideology of a black woman being in charge, or even a woman being in charge, is harmful to the ideology of a healthy heterosexual relationship, healthy heterosexual family relationship, right? Because the whole goal of the matter, still in black and white, we're still talking black and white, we haven't gotten off. The whole goal of the matter is to take what's plausible and destroy it, right? There was no way that Jake Paul, even if he could be Mike Tyson, I want you to understand this, and I say, even if he could be Mike Tyson, there's no way that he could have won. Even if he could have beat him, even if he could have knocked him out, there's no way he could have won. The odds are stacked against him. The odds are stacked against him. Mike Tyson's brand is stacked against him. The climate of the people is stacked against that. Do you understand? But the effects of the climate. The effects of the climate sold out arenas, sold out pay-per-view on a poor virtual channel that couldn't even film the fight correctly. So much so that they destroyed the earlier rounds, especially the shot where Mike Tyson hit this boy and, nearly put him out. Mike Tyson drew back, right? So I have to remember where he was. I got to remember his brand, and he's invested. So he don't have to get out there and hurt himself. He doesn't have to hurt himself because he's invested in a different brand that people like. What makes a fighter who he is when he gets in the ring? All of them, with the exception of two fighters, we're going to talk about that. Muhammad Ali was one. He was an exceptional fighter. And even because of his economic status, because he was pretty much came up middle class. His father was an artist and a painter, well renowned in Louisville. And the other exception to that is Sugar Ray Robinson. These are two exceptions because they came from backgrounds in one way or another that was affluent. So that's a little different. It gave them perspectives of independent business, gave them a perspective of professionalism. You don't find that in many boxers. You don't find that. Now, Mike Tyson, what made him so fierce is where he came from. And coming from nothing and being tough and having to be rough puts you in a mindset, right? And this development of such a fighter under these conditions makes them ferocious. And the ferocity makes for good fights. Look at Mike Tyson. Look at Buster Douglas. Look at Riddick Bowe. Right? These fighters. Eddie Machen. I don't know if you know who Eddie Machen is. Going back to the time of Ali. Cleveland Williams. These guys was rough. Sonny Liston. These guys was rough. Rough fighters. Ali wasn't a rough fighter. He was a creative fighter. And in many ways, very imaginative. And he was an all-around athlete. All-around athlete. But he didn't come from the conditions of rough fighting, but the fact that he was so young. Because remember, he got into boxing because somebody had stolen his bike. But Ali becomes popular still under the guise of the black and white issue. Right? He joined the Nation of Islam. All the trouble opens up for him then. Before that, some of the trouble opened up because he was a Louisville look. They say he won't shut up. They would use athletes and boxers back then, not saying much. They wanted to make him, Ali used to complain about it. They wanted to make him a Joe Louis type of boxer. Because Joe Louis was quiet. He did his talking in the ring. Ali talked outside the ring because he was a promoter and then a boxer. He'd been boxing since the time he was 12, but he was a promoter and a boxer. That's something to think about. So he understood the cinematics behind it and also knew that, well, if I join the Muslim movement, that's my faith, but at the same time, it's building him up psychologically and socially. It will build him up among his people because it meant everything to him to be something to his people. Now, Ali sold a brand where he could deal with black and white. I want to open your eyes to the fact that Angelo Dundee is a white man. Open your eyes to that fact. So he was business. It was business. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, this whole bout was about business, and they fed into an equivalent climate that had been set, a climate that is ever active, ever over us, climate of black and white. And there were white people who wanted to literally see Jake Paul knock Mike Tyson out. Black people wanted to see Mike Tyson knock Jake Paul out. Right? Very few people that really wanted to see him fight at all. Right? And they jumped into that climate. Mike Tyson even tells you on the interview prior to the fight, I'm selling this fight. So they wouldn't come to see it if it wasn't for me. When they put him on WWE, he did the same thing. He pushed Steve Goldberg. Right? Yeah. Steve Goldberg, Mike Tyson pushed him. Then you had Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mike Tyson pushed him too. Cinematics, brothers and sisters. But a distraction. What's going on? We're going to be talking about it later tonight at 8 o'clock. What's really going on is a war. There's a war right now looming against America. Not just in Russia, but China is standing idly by. Africa is standing by. Something's happening in our world. Something's happening in our planet. So you've got Iran. You got China. You got Africa. And you've got Russia. Right? There's a global war. World War III that is looming, that threatens to wipe out the entire planet. literally, that if I can't have it, this is the mindset of real mercenaries like the KGB and Vladimir Putin. If I can't have it, nobody will have it. We'll destroy this planet before we let America rule it one more day. That's the consensus, not just with Vladimir Putin. That's the consensus of climate around the globe, right? And to see Africa being visited by Putin, still in the mindset of black and white. That's the climate. That's the atmosphere, brothers and sisters. We have to be aware of that climate and that atmosphere. You got to be aware of it. Because there's so much going on. And look at this. I've never seen let's talk about it. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, that's a distraction. The other distraction prior to that is, and it's still ongoing distraction, is Puffy, right? And all of that. Everybody that was involved to distract you. Then they brought in the guy from Abercrombie, right? And Thick. All of it to distract you from what's really going on. America as a country, not seen the way that it was seen earlier. Something is happening globally, across the globe. Something is happening. You have to open your eyes, right? So you can see what's going on. You need to be able to see. You have to tug your ears so you can hear what's going on. You got to be able to do that because something is happening. And if you look, not only is America's economy plunging, because to be a millionaire is nothing, right? Anybody can be a millionaire today. That's nothing. And to be a billionaire today is nothing because you got sports athletes that are billionaires today, right? Isn't LeBron James a billionaire? Isn't Michael Jordan a billionaire? So the economy, it lets you know that our economy isn't strong. It's not a strong economy when you raise the tariff and then you raise the interest of money. Re-raise it to make it less achievable in the sense of wealth, but make it more achievable in the sense of palatable living, right? Then you know something's wrong with that economy. Because with all the opportunities and everything going on in that economy, the populational disparity and poverty is at great lengths. Great lengths. So it lets you know that something's going on in the climate of America. Just that alone. Now, they'll tell you that we're at war with Russia over some land that's in Russia because Ukraine is a satellite for America. Well, I'm just telling you the truth, brothers and sisters. Right? But what actually sells it is the climate. They figure that, and we're back on the black and white climate. They figure that if America goes to war, sending that white man over there, they come back, they won't, or if they come back, they'll come back to a nation that is more integrated sexually than it has ever been. That's a concern. The other concern is that you don't have as many black men joining the United States military like you had before. That's a concern. That's a concern. And there's this growing movement now of black people who are against joining the United States military. And you have to think about that. You have to think about it to understand exactly what's going on. You've got to think about it. The mindset, the climate. And here's Donald Trump with Project 2025, right? He's selling it from a mindset and a climate of race relations between black and white, race relations between people of color and people of European and white American descent, right? That's what you and I are. We're people of color. That's the way that he sees us, as people of color. And color is not a race. Black is not a race, right? It's not a race. It's a term. It's a racist term, but it's not a race, right? I'm African. I happen to be here in America, so I'm an American African. Is that right or wrong? So when you think of yourself, you're not African American. That's impossible. You started this country. The Native American comes from you. The Native American comes from you. So you're an American African, right? That have produced natives in your ancestry. Same as in South America. The African of South America, the South American African, right? When you go back to Africa, then it is the continental African of Africa and different areas of Africa. You're still in the climate of what is expressed as black and white. So that was a distraction based on the climate. This whole fight was a distraction based on the climate of what's considered black and what's considered white. Here people say Mike Tyson is not happy with it. Mike Tyson is ready, he's organized, and he can fight, irregardless of his age. Irregardless of his age. He looked great. And he was moving great. He took some shots. Didn't really do anything to him. Right? He drew back because he was building a different brand under the auspice of this white and black thinking. He had to draw back because this climate, this present day climate, cannot handle the Mike Tyson of the 90s. And he realized after the boxing match that he's got to try to go back to that persona. So instead of doing it, he became less ferocious and made it PG-13 for the viewers. Huh? All the children from 2-year-olds all the way to 99-year-olds. Isn't that right? So I want you to understand exactly what's going on. It was a complete exhibition. A complete exhibition. No different than the fight between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. And they called it a draw. And you and I know that Mike Tyson won that fight. But in the interest of an exhibition match, in the interest of it, I just want you to understand what's going on. I just want you to understand what's going on, brothers and sisters. Because you need to know. You need to know. Mike Tyson hit Roy Jones Jr. And Roy Jones Jr. said it was almost like a Mack truck had hit him. You look at Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul, you can see that he wasn't actually fighting. Now, irregardless of his age, I know a lot of 60-year-olds that could run 110 meters, literally, in great condition because it's a matter of the body, training of the body. Mike Tyson has had a rest for years, so there was other damage that he didn't have to worry about sustaining. The challenge was to build his body back up and his endurance. He was doing that. But the major goal was to sell this fight and to make some money. Because this was an act. All of it was an act. So Jake Paul is the best actor in this movie, sequel and prequel. And Mike Tyson was the best supporting actor. Remember, every thing he's ever acted in, he's played a fighter. Mike Tyson is a professional actor for all intents and purposes. For all intents and purposes, even for exhibition. You think that the WWE was not an exhibition? It was an exhibition. So you have to see what's going on. right? And I want you to know the truth so you won't jump into the hype. I don't want nobody jiving you, so I tell you the truth. But it was very interesting, to say the least. To say the least, it was very interesting. So our brother Reparation said, I think Mike was worried about Jake knocking him out. He should not have let the white boy embarrass him like that. It wasn't an embarrassment. Not at all. Not at all. That was in the script. All of it was scripted. All of it was scripted. So it wasn't an embarrassment. Not at all. And I think Jake Paul flipped the script on Mike. White people will do that to you. But even with all of his power, he still couldn't shake him. At 58 years of age. Brothers and sisters, that's a major accomplishment. Major accomplishment. And he wasn't even fighting in his full power. Wasn't fighting in full power. So you have to see that. But I just thought that I'd take out this time to help you to understand. Right? This was a distraction. A good, needed distraction. And the turnout had to be peaceful. Because remember, the white man is never going to let anything like that go on that he's not in control of. And he said behind the scenes to him, he said, look, when you guys finish fighting, you got to make up because we got a climate in this world and we can't have black folks beating up on white folks in this climate. People in charge. So the whole thing was just an exhibition. But there is a climate of hate. And you do have a hate teacher, a true hate teacher, which is Donald Trump. And as black people, we've got to be steadfast, unmovable, and always abounding in the work of God. In our mindset, we have to keep both eyes open. Because you've got white people out here that would like to kill you. That wasn't the case in Jake Paul and Mike Tyson's fight, but I just want to let you know that while they may be friends, there are white people that hate your guts. I got to tell you like it is. And they would rather see you dead. And Project 2025 will be nothing to help you. But you do need to help yourself and come together. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that because you don't need no president. You never needed any president to change your situation in the black community. And this is particular to the black community. If you need anything in it, you've always had the power to build these things yourself, to put them in the black community, whether it be businesses, schools, hospital, clinics, or whatever it may be, grocery stores, you can do those things yourself. But I'm happy to say, as far as this condition or this act is concerned, that nobody got hurt, right? There's no telling what would have happened, right? In the mind of the ignorant who bought or buy into the climate, the hype of the climate. So I just want to say that. Brothers and sisters, I appreciate you for having me on with you. Don't forget that tonight we're going to be talking about Project 2025. There's nothing for you to get riled over, brothers and sisters. It's just a continuing of the decline and fall of America. And we've got to have somebody to run it in the ground. And you and I both know nobody can do that better than Donald Trump, to run it in the ground. But be careful, because this is a slicker Trump you're dealing with. You're dealing with somebody that is trickier than before, right? He was even kissing black babies. I have heard black folks say, he ain't racist. Oh, yes, he is. But I'd rather have him in there than to have a hypocrite in there. And Kamala Harris showed you who she was with by who she married, right? You know, ain't no black woman running no white man. I don't care if she's married to him. No way he's going to allow that to happen in his house. And he's not wrong. The white man's not going to allow a black woman to come over his house. For all intents and purposes, she's black. I know she's Indonesian, but she's black. Racially speaking. And the white man can't tolerate her presence, first of all. Secondly, to that, he's not going to allow some black woman to run the nation and tell him what to do. And not that she's created for the job anyway, because no president, right? He's the chairman, executive officer of the corporation, right? Slave corporation, because that's what it was. America was just the place where slavery was produced to carry out what England couldn't do, right? So there's no way you may be as a house official or house slave. You may do duties in the house. You may be the butler of that house. Barack Obama found that out. But you'll never run the house. And the biggest hype they have going now is the fact that they want to make black women, right, a source of power. Now, they don't really want to make the black woman a source of power because the white man will never give it to his woman. But the facade of it would continue to destroy black homes in a sense because there's no emphasis is put on the black man. We're still in the area of climate. This is the climate that makes things go. This is a climate that sells things. And Jake Paul and Mike Tyson use that climate. That's all I have to say, brothers and sisters, about that. And, the guy's name was Joe Buckner. Buckner was his name, as a matter of fact. That Ali fought Joe Buckner, brother LD, Joe Buckner. So Joe Buckner was that fighter Sylvester Stallone says that he made the movie Rocky from, but the chemistry in the movie Rocky came from the Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali fight. So, and I believe that one was Ali Frazier won. Ali Frazier won. The Thriller in Manila, the Thriller in Manila, and that was the title that Muhammad Ali gave to it. So, but you had three of those fights. Best fights in history was between Ali and Frazier. Best fights by far in history was the top fight in the score of boxing was the top. And that's because of the reign of both of them and their way as champions. But there are two things that, and I want to say this before I go. There are two things that people will pay to see. They'll pay to see two black men beat each other to death, and they'll pay to see black and white fight each other to death. And then, but after the difference is, after the black and white fight, depending on who wins, if the white man wins, then there's no trouble. But if the white man loses, then it's a race riot. I want you to understand that. That's the chemistry. And that's the way people were looking at this fight, regardless. Our brother, reparations for repatriation. You want to keep to the status quo period. No reason for anyone with self-respect. No reason for anyone with self-respect would want dangerous white men orchestrating laws for the next 4 years. And that's right. That's very, very true. That's very, very true. But this project 2025, brothers and sisters, and here's the thing. Donald Trump is going to run this country in the ground. He is the staple to the unrecoverable fall of America. But America is falling regardless. Anytime the slave begins to outrun his master, the country is doomed. I say slave because you and I are nothing but 21st century slaves, however you want to look at it. You may think that you're free, but you're really not free. Freedom is not something that a man can give to you. It's something that you have to die for. You have to die for freedom. And I don't care how many laws or how many judgments they pass to imprison white people for killing black people. Remember that this country was built on racism. This country was built on slavery and eugenics, in the sense that they're teaching superiority and inferiority. And this country will not get by having a race riot no matter what it does. It'll never get by having a race riot. You'll have one whether you like it or not. And Donald Trump just may be the chairman, executive officer of this slave corporation to put the nail in the coffin for the white man. But this country will not survive a race riot, and it won't survive without a race riot. And that's a fact. Because racism, country is racist. And you got too many black people that would turn a blind eye to what's going on. You got too many that'll still feel like that they can play the game at the cost of another black brother or sister. And that's why we have to get on God's side, because being on God's side, God can deliver us, brothers and sisters, and teach us how to deliver ourselves. Now, let me say this about Cornel West, because I see this in the comment. You can't trust Cornel West. All you have to do is look at his actions. Give me a black man that is with a black woman, and I'll trust him. As long as he put his good foot forward, don't have to be perfect. All he has to do is try to do right. All he has to do is have a desire to be righteous. But Cornel West, you look at his track record, you can't trust him. You just can't do it. And it's not the fact that he have dated white women. It's the fact that he preferred white women. And when you look at that knowledge, and of course I would tell a black man, stay with your own woman. What's wrong with a black woman? Stay with your woman. Stay with your woman. Any black man that has any self-respect for his mother, his sister, his grandmother, his aunt, cousins, would reproduce with his own kind so he can increase his race. Besides, you need to increase your race anyway because they're killing us left and right. And that's why I go for polygamy. I don't go for it in some sexual sense because I know that's not what it's about. It's really about if a man is going to have more than one wife, then she's operating a business that she and that man own, and those children that they produce can run those businesses, such as farming, such as agriculture, and things of that nature. Now, if he has another wife, then that wife can do carpentry, and her kids are working on carpentry. You get the idea. Another wife is doing plumbing, right? And there's no place on this planet that don't need builders, that don't need agriculture, that don't need plumbers, that don't need electricians, that don't need mason, brick mason, or any of these services, right? Or even building machines and technology and things of that nature, right? Redoing cars and all of that stuff, renovation and all of that. There's no place where it's not needed. So when the Muslim and when the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about polygamy, he's talking about an expansion of business, expansion of land, expansion of property. So you make your woman intelligent, or Muslim will make you intelligent, as you all build an empire together. And that's what Africa is built on. Africa is built on building empires. You just got some Africans that have gotten out of the mental training because they've been dealing with the enemy. You know what I mean when I say enemy. You know exactly what I mean when I say enemy. It was your enemy that enslaved you. Your enemy that used unjust laws. They don't care anything about laws. They don't care anything about laws. And if they say they care about laws, then follow the law. But you white people will not follow the law because they don't have to. That's why they can kill without remorse, because they have more impunity. They have impunity. They will kill from the police, even security, white security officers, even white community watch leaders in their own community can kill you and get off. You may have some that are in prison. And I say that to say this. If you look at Breonna Taylor, look at the case of Breonna Taylor. The men that actually killed her were not even put in jail. Right? They got one of the men. They made him pay for it because they say he was shooting like Wild Bill what's his name? Hitchcock, right? The slinger. But they didn't get all the men. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. So we haven't come so far, right? And Donald Trump knows it. You and I know it too. But here's the thing. He's not a hypocrite. I know he's a Klansman. I already know it. But he's not a hypocrite like Kamala Harris. Don't you think that God, an intelligent God, because God is intelligent, don't you think that an intelligent God would keep the righteous, you and I, and every other black person that's not following the law of God? They are the seed of God. They come from God. But don't you think an intelligent God would keep you in a situation to recaptivate your attention, to tell you that you have to do something for yourself, and to tell you to lean and depend on him, right? When it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, acknowledge him in all your ways and he will direct your path. Don't you think an intelligent God would allow you to be in a situation so horrific that you would have to turn your attention to him? I'm just asking you, brothers and sisters. That's an intelligent God that would do that. Put you in a situation where you have to pay attention to him. That's an intelligent God. An intelligent God speaking to little gods such as you and I. Because that's who we are. We're the handiwork of God. We come directly from a race of God. We come from a race of creators. I hope that you're hearing me. An intelligent God would do this to bring his people back to him, that the people would trust in it. For he said, if my people who are called by my name, right, will humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked way, seek my face, then I will hear from heaven, that heaven, but yes, this heaven, and heal their land from sea to shining sea. Brothers and sisters, we've got to wake up in this time. Understand what's going on. Understand the climate of what's going on. And no matter how peaceful the white man looks to you, you and I are catching hell in this country. And the climate is becoming so thick with racism that it won't even be able to be used again. You'll be able to cut it with a knife. And you can't get out of a race war. You can't get out of a race war. I don't care which way you turn. You're going to have to deal with it. And though America will never survive a race war, you and I won't get out of here without a race war. And when you get over to Africa, you end up having to fine tune some of the Africans too, because many of them have sold brothers and sisters out, sold us in our ancestry, sold us out, which also helped put us in the condition that we're in. And I talk next Wednesday, we'll talk about invader and what it means. But you're out of your mind if you think, and I want to say this, you're out of your mind if you think that the white man transported all of us over here on slave ships. And all you got to do is do the math. And also see how many slave ships were sunk by other African sea dogs, right? Because they didn't just get on the ship and come over here, but there were Africans here. The American African was already here, and the white man put them on plantations, came through Columbus and came through others so that he could rape them and create a different, quote unquote, Native American. Brothers and sisters, I'm just telling you to wake up and use your brain. There were already Africans, South American Africans in what is called South America, because American means the aboriginal, right? African of that area. And when you get the term, it comes from Kemet. You look at how the Cometians dress, look at how they wore the feathers and everything in their head, all the way in Africa. All the way in Africa on the first Nile. Then you understand the second Nile is the Mississippi River. Then you have a third Nile that is in South America. Brothers and sisters, I'm just telling you to wake up. That's all. Just telling you to wake up. Just telling you to wake up. And there's a fourth Nile in Lower Mexico. And there's a fifth Nile. I'm just telling you to wake up. Haiti. Just telling you to wake up. That's all. Stop believing what you've been told. Don't give in to the hype. Don't give into it. Understand what's going on. So let's understand what's going on. So once you understand what's going on, then you know how to deal with it. Just don't give in to the hype, though. But I need you to be ready. I need you to be intelligent. Build up something for yourself. Independence. Build up a black business. I don't care if you sell it out of your trunk. I don't care if you sell it out of the front of your house. Let it be something that the black community can use. And when you get out, be able to put it out to your people to provide a good and service. And unite. Black woman, unite with that black man. Black man, unite with that black woman. I know that many of us are hard to deal with. Many of the women are hard to deal with, but find some medium so that our children will see both of us and be strengthened by it. I'm just giving you some tidbits. Because this climate of racism, the climate that oppresses you and I, socially, psychologically, educationally, mentally, scientifically, and otherwise, we have to overcome that in order to reach heaven, which is a higher form of our thinking. Not the lower form, but the higher form of our thinking. Again, brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for the time. Thank those that visit. I'll see you again at 8 o'clock p.m. Please tell somebody about it. And don't forget that we're going to be setting the temple up, temple number 28, Liberation Temple X, temple number 28 in Columbia, South Carolina. And we found the place, so just stay tuned. We'll also be filming areas without when we're doing the speeches and things of that nature. So I want to thank you for participating. I want to thank you for coming along. If I didn't say it to you in the beginning, I certainly say it unto you now. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you. And I salute you with the power and the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because without him having the message sent by Master Fard, without him having the message to send it to us, then I can't talk to you in this intelligence. And I say that to you, those of the apostolic faith and those of the Muslim faith. I say it to you, there's one God, one faith, one baptism, right? And the power and the dialogue of Jesus and all the work that he did. Just understand who the man is and where he stood and where you and I stand. So brothers and sisters, peace be unto you, prosperity and long life. Assalamu alaikum.